Mr. Hale, open the door. Your wife is being detained. A commanding voice thundered. The repeated pounding on the front door shook the frame violently, making Alex wonder if the glass would splinter. This wasn't a neighbor's casual knock. It had the precision and intensity of a tactical raid. Yet this wasn't television. It was happening right on his porch at the soft gray hour of dawn when the neighborhood should have been still. Drop your location in the comments. Let's see how far this story reaches around the world. Alex had only been awake for a few minutes, lingering in the kitchen with his steaming mug of coffee, robe loosely wrapped around him, socks warm on his feet. Another crash against the door rattled the house. Alex Hale, come outside immediately. The voice boomed again, sharp and performative, oddly theatrical for such a quiet street. From the hallway, Mara emerged, pulling her dark hair into a ponytail. One eyebrow raised as if asking silently, "Really?" Alex set his mug on the counter, his chest tightening, and moved toward the front door. Peering through the narrow side window, he saw movement. 3 men were stationed on his porch, standing in precise formation. 2 in front, 1 slightly behind, all broad-shouldered in tactical-style pants and navy shirts. Bold white letters stretched across their backs. Community Inspector. In the hazy dawn light, the shiny fabric could almost pass as a real uniform. Sunglasses masked their eyes, and the tallest of the front pair rested a hand casually on a hip-side holster. Alex eased the door open just enough to keep the chain engaged. What's happening here?" he asked, his voice wavering. The tallest man stepped forward, and Alex's stomach sank. It was Garrett Boone, the neighbor from 2 houses down, always sporting that irritating half-smile that made Alex want to avoid him at all costs. Now Garrett's face was partially hidden under wraparound sunglasses and a dark baseball cap, and his posture exuded a forced, exaggerated authority that didn't belong to him. "Step aside, sir," Garrett said, his voice heavy, almost theatrical. "We've received reports of a violation. Your wife needs to come with us for questioning." Alex froze, stunned, unable to process the absurdity. Have you ever faced someone pretending to wield power they don't have? He thought. What would you do if strangers in fake uniforms showed up at your home, claiming the right to detain your spouse? Behind Garrett, the 2 other men shifted subtly, the one in the back fidgeting, the other glancing toward the street as if anxious that someone might be watching. "Neighborhood enforcement isn't a joke, Mr. Hale," Garrett continued, smirking as he nodded toward his companions. "Now, bring her out. We can do this the easy way or the hard way." Footsteps echoed as Mara stepped into view, her expression calm, almost bored, as though this absurd display were merely an interruption. She wore a fitted workout jacket with reflective trim along the shoulders and sleek black pants. Her posture was controlled, her eyes level and unflinching. Garrett straightened, puffing his chest in a mock authoritative stance. "Ma'am, you need to come with us right now." Mara's response was cool, precise, and cutting. "Do you have a warrant?" The single question seemed to catch Garrett off guard. His smug smile wavered, and for a moment his entire facade faltered. What?" he stammered. Mara tilted her head slightly, polite but firm. "A search warrant? An arrest warrant? Any legitimate paperwork at all?" One of the inspectors coughed into his hand, trying not to laugh. Another glanced away, embarrassed, as the charade of authority began to crumble in the quiet morning light. Garrett's jaw tightened, fingers brushing the sidearm at his hip, a silent reminder of the weapon he carried. "I don't need papers to protect this street," he said, his voice hardening with forced authority. Mara's eyes never wavered from his. Her posture shifted almost imperceptibly, shoulders squaring, a calm presence solidifying into unshakable resolve. Alex recognized the look instantly. It was the same expression she wore whenever a situation teetered on the edge. "Alex," she said without breaking her gaze, "call the sheriff's office. Ask for the duty sergeant. Tell them we have 3 men pretending to be officers standing on our porch." Garrett's lip curled into a sneer. "You're making a serious mistake." "No, Garrett," Mara shot back, her tone sharp and steady. "The mistake is yours." For a heartbeat, the porch fell silent. Mara didn't flinch, her eyes locked on Garrett's, a quiet storm in her calm. Alex felt the tension stretch tight, as though one wrong move could ignite chaos. Finally, Garrett hissed through clenched teeth, "You'll regret this." Mara's response was cold and unwavering, Not nearly as much as you will if you take another step. The standoff dragged on, every second heavy with anticipation. Neighbors peeked from windows, some recording, some holding their breath. Garrett's jaw twitched, and at last, he stepped back, signaling his men to follow. "This isn't over," he spat. "You're right," Mara said evenly. "It isn't. But next time, bring the real law with you." He hesitated, face flushed with frustration, before retreating down the walkway with his crew. Alex and Mara both knew this wasn't the last they'd see of him. The next morning confirmed their instincts. Footsteps crunched across the gravel driveway. Alex parted the blinds just in time to see Garrett approaching again, this time flanked by 5 men, all wearing the same cheap community inspector outfits. Fake patches gleamed under the rising sun, and sunglasses hid nervous glances. One carried bolt cutters, another a crowbar. They looked less like neighbors and more like a low-budget enforcement team. Garrett planted himself at the bottom of the steps, chest out, projecting the same faux authority as before. Garrett's voice rolled out loud enough for the cul-de-sac to hear. "Mara Collins, you are cited for violating neighborhood code. Your fence is 6 feet. Regulation is 4. You've ignored our notices, so we're here to take corrective action." Mara cracked the door open a hair. Alex planted firmly at her shoulder. Her tone was level but cutting. "Corrective action? You have no authority here. One step onto this property and you're committing criminal trespass. Don't make that mistake." Garrett sneered and waved a dismissive hand. "Save me the lecture. If you won't cooperate, I'll do it myself. I'm coming onto this property and removing that fence today." The men behind him straightened, feeding off his bluster. One thumbed the crowbar in his grasp. Mara's gaze narrowed, her voice ablade. "Place 1 foot inside my home, and I'll treat you like the criminal you are. Try it. See how fast your little performance ends." Garrett barked an ugly laugh and glanced at his crew. "You hearing her? She thinks threats will stop us. Boys, be ready. If she won't let us do this the easy way, we'll do the hard way." The air thickened. The porch seemed to hum with the pressure of what might break. Mara stepped forward, low and final. "Go on, Garrett. Enter my house. It will be the last reckless thing you ever do." For a heartbeat, he froze, the swagger slipping. He scanned his men, then slammed the posture back into place. "Arrogance is a hard habit to kill." He puffed his chest and snorted. "You think you can intimidate me with words? This is a neighborhood enforcement issue. You don't decide." "I do." One of the men shifted uneasily. Garrett shoved forward and planted a boot on the bottom step of the porch. "Stand aside, or I'll handle it myself. That fence comes down today." Mara's voice cut him off, cool and merciless. "You're standing on the edge of your own ruin, Garrett. Take another step, and I'll make sure you hit the ground." He leaned in, sneer widening, face inches from the doorframe. "My ruin? No, Mara. The only thing falling today is that fence, and I'll be the one tearing it down." He snarled forward, fingers brushing the jamb as if to force the door open. Behind him, gloved hands tightened on bolt cutters and crowbars, the tools glittering in the morning light. Curtains fluttered. Neighbors watched from behind glass. Alex's hands balled at his sides, but Mara didn't relent. She held her ground, eyes locked to his with a controlled, warning storm behind them. Then Garrett made his move. He pressed harder, shoved the door as if he could muscle his way past law and decency. In the blur that followed, Mara moved with precise speed. She swung the door wide, caught his wrist before he knew what had happened, and twisted, wrenching control from the moment and everything it had promised. Garrett let out a sharp grunt as his knees buckled. Within moments, he was face down on the porch, cheek pressed hard against the wood. Mara's knee sank firmly between his shoulder blades, pinning him in place. The moment he hit the ground, the sound wasn't quiet. It was shock. Gasps rippled from every direction. His crew froze, crowbars and bolt cutters dangling uselessly at their sides. Neighbors peered through curtains, mouths agape. Mara's voice cut through the tension, crisp and commanding. "Garrett Boone, you are under arrest for criminal trespass, impersonation of an officer, harassment, and attempted forced entry into a private residence." Each word landed like a hammer. Sweat glistening on his temple, Garrett coughed through clenched teeth. Who are you?" Without hesitation, Mara kept him pinned with one hand while drawing her badge from her jacket pocket. The sunlight struck the metal, gleaming for all to see. I'm Sheriff Mara Collins, and you just tried to break into a sheriff's home. Gasps spread through the yard. His men exchanged wide-eyed, pale stares. Mara's gaze swept over them, sharpened to steel. My husband has already called for backup. Units are on their way. If you want to avoid cuffs alongside Garrett, you'd better leave my property immediately. The silence was thick and electric. One man let the crowbar clatter to the porch. Another stepped back, shaking his head. Within seconds, all of them fled, scattering down the street like rats abandoning a sinking ship. Not one dared look back. Garrett squirmed under Mara's hold, but it was futile. For the first time, his false authority lay stripped bare before everyone. Her knees stayed planted firmly on his back, face pressed to the wood. Around them, the morning air buzzed, gasps, murmurs, phones recording every second. Neighbors who had once whispered about Mara now stared wide-eyed, watching the man who had tried to dominate the street reduced to nothing. Then came the sound of sirens, sharp and rising, cutting through the calm dawn. Red and blue lights splashed across the cul-de-sac as two cruisers screeched to a stop. Doors slammed open, deputies fanning out, weapons ready, until Mara's voice rang over them. I've got him restrained. He's in custody. Within seconds, they were on Garrett. One deputy snapped handcuffs onto his wrists, yanking him upright. He stumbled, flushed, eyes darting at the neighbors, recording his humiliation. The cocky grin was gone, replaced with the hollow expression of a man stripped of power. The deputies marched him to the waiting squad car. He jerked once, attempting to resist, but Mara's unwavering gaze pinned him in place. The neighborhood buzzed, some whispering in disbelief, others cheering outright. Garrett was shoved into the back seat. The door slammed. The lock clicked. Final. The man who had tried to bully, threaten, and impersonate authority now sat confined behind real steel and glass. You like this stories. Make sure like and subscribe and comment your favorite part in